welcome everybody to the ACRL Virtual Worlds interest group that meets once a month on the third Wednesday, quite often in Second Life, but this month for March of 2025, we're here in Kitely at the VWEC's Education Consortium Hub for the OpenSim Worlds. This is currently our landing point, so I want you guys to all follow me over to the pavilion. That's right over here, and I'm going to run just to save time. Okay. And you might recognize this. We had something similar in Second Life for VWEC, and this is a good place for us to meet for quarterly meetings and things like that. But the reason that we're touring today, you might not realize what else is here in Kitely, and maybe you can think of ways that other people could utilize the hub here for the OpenSims when you see all the different areas that we have. So this is just our pavilion, and then you can walk back over to the teleporter. There are teleporters all around this region, which is great because you can just find a teleporter like this and easily see where you want to go. So I'll let you guys gather around the teleporter. And then once you're around the teleporter, I'm going to ask you to open up your map, your world map, so we can just see what is on the world map here. You'll see that we're in a region that has 4 sims all around. It's like a quad with a little square in the center. And we're going to go to the entire parcels today, the 4 quads, and see what's there and why it's there and what the purpose of this this whole hub in Kitely is. And then maybe we can have a conversation about how we can best use this to connect people across the OpenSim worlds for teaching and learning. So you can also cam out a little bit, and behind us you'll see a bunch of giant musical instruments, which is kind of cool. And you'll see there's some Venice over here. This area is all built by Cooper Swizzle, our VWEC ambassador. And if you cam around, you'll also see the float that says VWEC with a big book. A lot of different things that Cooper has been building to get this space ready for us at VWEC in Kitely. But what we're going to do is the first place we're going to visit, we're going to go somewhere, and I talk about it a lot. I talk about it at the Dickens Project every year, the Antique Pattern Library. So if you left click on the teleporter, a blue menu will come up, and then we're going to choose AP Library. That stands for Antique Pattern Library. So you click on it, and then you'll touch the teleporter again, and then it should take us here. You guys are great. You got here really fast. Okay, perfect. Did we lose anybody? Nope, we got everybody. So, and if you cam out, you'll see there's a nice sign, Antique Pattern Library. And as we go in, you're going to see there's room to grow. If you look out on your map and you zoom out, there's quite a big space here with 2 pavilions in it. We would like this to grow so we can show educators who are building historical simulations the clothing that they can wear and how they can design a space to be historically accurate. So let's go into the 17th century building. That's the first pavilion, and you guys can look around. This is built by Dawn Graymist, and the woman who manages the Antique Pattern Library, which is a digital library online, she lives in Amsterdam. And if you touch this sign right here by me, we will need to update this sign. I need to tell Dawn. It says on here, the textures hanging on these walls are from the Antique Pattern Library collection. This pavilion contains samples from the 17th century. The Antique Pattern Library is a project of New Media Arts Incorporated. Click this sign for a note card. So I'm going to touch it, and here's the note card. We'll need to change this. The Antique Pattern Library is now a project of Metaverse Libraries. And if you open up that note card, you will see that Metaverse Libraries is the first link. And Metaverse Libraries has 3 projects: the Community Virtual Library, the VWEC Consortium, and the Antique Pattern Library. And all of those websites can be found on metaverselibraries.org. They're unique individual projects, but they point to each other. So walk around here and you can see some really cool examples of what educators could do to find authentic materials if they're building something from the 16th century. Did you guys realize this was here? Have any of you ever heard of the Antique Pattern Library? Feel free to use voice or local chat.
I checked it out a long time ago and I was really impressed, and I'm looking forward to actually looking around, seeing if they've done anything new with it.
Yes, she scans things quite often, adds new materials there. It's a rich collection, and a lot of it is on fabrics and textiles, embroidery patterns from way back when people did not get, clothing at stores, but they made them all themselves. And there are a lot of really cool slipper patterns and tapestry patterns and things like that. So this is the 17th century. Let's move on through to the 19th century. That's the next building. Same thing with this one. We will be updating the note card to be sure that it points to metaverse libraries. This one, being the 19th century, would be a great resource for the Dickens Project. In fact, the Antique Pattern Library has given us a lot of materials from Dickens resources, such as book illustrations, things like that, and helped with a lot of the costumes for the Dickens Project. I like to just mention this because, it's important that we're historically accurate when educators are designing historical eras in the metaverse. So this is a good place to bring them, to give them ideas, and then they can go online to the Antique Pattern Library for more information. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, here we are in the OpenSim worlds, and a lot of people don't really understand a lot about hypergrid jumping. And you all know that we like to mention Thurza Ember, and I'll put her name in local chat. Thurza Ember has been doing the Hypergrid Safari for many years. She is a consultant for us and helps us with hypergrid jumps and understanding how to do it, and she's got a lot of resources in OpenSim. We also have a hypergrid resource library right here at the VWEC region in Kitely. So the next stop we're going to do, if you'll click on the teleporter pad here, look for HG Library. That's Hypergrid Library, and we'll head there. You can see it's got some VWEC signage in here, and it has some information on what is hypergrid jumping, how do you do it, some of these signs. Bethany Winslow from San Jose State University has created a hypergrid resource library wiki, and so there's a lot of information on how to hypergrid jump on that wiki. But you can tell there's a lot of space here that we could add teleporters to various worlds, more about where the teachers are in the metaverse, in the OpenSims. So this is a place we'd really like to see grow. Okay, I've got a good picture of the sign, Hypergrid Resource Library. And if you cam out, you can see there's a really cool hypergrid. It's like a space station with teleporters on it. CVL, when we first started this, it was up in the sky like a rocket ship space station where you would go through portals, but it was so glitchy to make those portals work. We're really updating it and trying to make it where it's easier for people to hypergrid. But you can see that if you cam around. This little pathway will take you into the plaza. You can see there's a sign here, Digital Citizenship Museum. Welcome, stranger. Good to see you. All right, so let's walk in. Just walk down the pathway and into the courtyard. When Metaverse Libraries took over from New Media Arts, this whole area on Cookie, we had to move quickly, very quickly, and it was quite a chore to move every one of these little shops. And each one of these little shops, if you pan around, has information on digital citizenship and the metaverse and life in digital participatory culture. I'm going to pan around and show you a few. There's curating virtual world communities. There's the future of the metaverse. There's cybersecurity, digital citizenship for kids. There's, zoom in on some, genealogy literacy through virtual engagement. There's a bit on avatars and AI, which of course is out of date because that's rapidly expanding. And if you cam around, you'll see lots and lots of shops with content by a variety of subject experts, educators who are interested in digital citizenship. Where I'm standing, there's a stairwell to my left where you can go down and just walk down underwater. This is the archival room. And we felt like underwater was a good place for archival because archival is a difficult topic. A lot of our content will just wash out to sea if we don't understand digital archival. So I'm going to jump in, fall down, and you can see there are some presentations down below on digital archival. And we could definitely have a whole lot more topics on this underwater because digital legacy, what happens when you die, digital estate planning. We're also looking at maybe updating this so that it has a lot more beautiful underwater sea creatures. You can see here preserving virtual worlds, cloud storage services, and one of the best examples of virtual world archival is Arcadia, preserving Ali Array's work at the Arcadia. New Media Arts is actually working on a project of archiving all of the Ali assets that could be lost if we don't archive them. So this is our underwater archival museum. Let's walk back up the stairs. This is VCARA's building, which is the Virtual Center for Archives and Records Administration, which is part of San Jose State University's iSchool. And when you go in here, there's a lot of information about VR, and they help us with the VR Exploder Club, which the Community Virtual Library has been a part of since it first began. If you're not familiar with that, the VR Exploder Club goes to different virtual environments, either in VR headsets or on desktop, every single month. And if you want information about that, it's on the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium website. All right, you can see there's a lovely little meditation room here, and Kriyatya is interested in using this space to teach topics about wellness, to have some meditation centers. And if you walk over here, she's built this. And I think this is a really good example. Kriyatya was a student in Second Life at San Jose State University, really fell in love with building, and then she decided to move over here and help with our project in Kitely. So you can see she built this, and this is a great place for the meditation leader to sit. I'll show you how she would do it. Sit here. And then people can gather around, meditate, and let me just right-click on this and see. You can see that Dawn is working with her to help. A good example of mentors, Dawn helping Kriyatya learn to build, and she's created this beautiful meditation spot here in Kitely. So I'm just going to zoom in on it so you can see. I want to stand over here. Who knows who this is that I'm standing by right here? You can use voice.
Thinker Selby.
Yes, here's Thinker Selby. And the reason that I wanted to point out is they've tried to fix this just a few weeks ago. When you would come in, it looked exactly like Thinker Selby was online. In fact, right now, if you go to nearby, you'll see his name. But if you go to friends, you will not. You cannot friend this legacy avatar. There is not a human being behind this avatar. So pan in on the sign that I made. I made a sign over here because a couple people found this rather disturbing, that it looked like Selby was here, but they knew he wasn't. So zoom in on the sign. Would somebody read the sign for me?
I am an NPC legacy avatar, Selby Evans. The Thinker was a champion of virtual worlds and inspired many to use virtual worlds for education.
Thanks, Roxy. So my question here is this designation enough to not confuse people that Selby is sitting here at the fire? That's his avatar that we all know and have known for many years. And the reason I bring it up, Second Life is now bringing kindred AI companions into Second Life. And there's been a lot of conversation about making sure we designate that they are not human beings, because new people could be very confused by avatars that can talk and seem very realistic but are not human beings. It could get rather messy. Anybody have any comments about that?
It will get more and more difficult to tell.
Yes, I agree, stranger. And so
The
I
ability
like,
of AIs is, I believe the last I heard, doubling almost every 6 months or so.
yes, very quickly.
Yeah,
Lots of AI companions, and they're coming into the metaverse as avatars. And I'm glad that they fixed this where Selby's no longer showing up as a friend online, but he does show as nearby, as being nearby. So what do you think about that? Were you going to say something, Ellie? I thought I heard your voice.
Yeah, I find that a little disturbing. I wish that we could change his name to be Thinker Selby's NPC or whatever, so that when we see that online, it just means that his NPC is online. Because right now, it shows him as online as Thinker Selby.
Yes, and so we've talked about this again and again, and it's like we really need to get a good solution. And I like that one. The more we can designate by putting right in his name, NPC or legacy avatar, or something to be a red flag that there's no human being behind that avatar. And for our debrief, I think there's enough chairs for us all to come sit over here in this nice outdoor open area. Everybody come take a seat. And I'm panning around, and I'm going to let Krayatya tell us what's here, because as I pan around, I can see a lovely desk, and we can walk over to it. Oh, I see Avatar Scholar, our magazine for higher ed from VWEC. Krayatya, can you tell us a little bit about the design of this info center and what's here? You want to tell us?
I can do that. Basically, the design of the info center has been kept very open to the environment and not closed, so as not to obstruct either both the beauty of the design of the four of their islands, but if somebody's trying to find their way around, that they can see where it is they're going, instead of just pressing the teleporter and being dropped in there, understand the greater scheme of things. On the other table there, it's a standing desk that has a board behind it that has access to different types of directories that we do. They are for communities, which is where people gather, the metaverse in common interests. Landmarks, which are specifically areas that may be educational, not connected. And a members directory of individuals that are in the VWEC that are willing to network for membership or collaboration on various concepts in education. As Val's already pointed out, I did put out an ad for the issue of the Avatar Scholar. I know that this particular tour is geared to the ACRL, which I am still a student member of till September, because I just graduated in December with my MLIS. And so that is a recent project of the VWEC and potentially of interest. And the other two images that are actually on the desk provide note card information about There's a wellness area that I built for educators to do personal meditation. Oh, I got. The other one is information for people that make it here first as to what is in the Hypergrid Resource Library. Again, I don't know to what extent Val toured you over there. I keep an admin office that is connected to the info center, actually in one of the side rooms in the Hypergrid Resource Library, because this open area design doesn't really allow for an office. Val, was there anything else in specific that you were hoping to get information-wise? Again, because I couldn't come until now. I don't know exactly what you've already said.
Right. We just went to all 4 areas and just sort of briefly got an overview of what they are, what their purposes are. But I wanted to end up here to get all of your feedback on the purpose of this space. Because I mentioned earlier in the tour, I'm beginning to see that people want to come in and build their own spaces in virtual worlds. They don't, and they want it to be their home base. But we're so isolated if we do that. We don't realize what other educators are doing. And so we don't really connect on what the power of virtual worlds are for education. So in Second Life, we've really got a lot of people now working at our info center, building the models of teaching, doing our expert series, just really connecting and networking. And but the OpenSims don't seem to have quite that much collaboration going on. And perhaps there is a need. I think there are educators across the OpenSims that don't even know anybody who's there. So what do you all think? Do you think that this space would really be beneficial if people know about it, people start getting into our directories? So I wanted to open the conversation up to that. How do you see the purpose of this region here in Kitely?
I would say, just from from little that I know about OpenSims, because I'm just really jumping in and exploring them, I personally think there's a need for all of this. But I think the big piece is going to be community, finding the people and building that community of educators. I don't think a lot of educators know that, number one, there's VWEC in Kitely, and if they did even hear about it, they're not sure how to get into Kitely. Same thing with Wolf Territories, and we can go on and on and on. And I think we need to continue to talk about, what's there. So like veg, so I'll just speak for veg, but that's one of the things that we really want to start highlighting, and we've done that in this last issue with Wolf Territories and the OpenSim. Open Fair. OpenSim's Fair, World's Fair. But anyway, trying to get educators connected with educators. But I think it's more than just the education people. I think that bringing in the artists, the entertainers, the builders, the other people that might have an interest in some way, shape, or form, even if they're in, some other area of, like climate change, or just whatever it might be, they may still be doing professional learning, professional development, that kind of thing, that puts them under the umbrella of education. So number one, I think it's reaching out to all of these different groups and helping them realize these resources are here, which I think I didn't realize all these resources were here. And Kitely has changed so much since when I was in 4 years ago that it just blows my mind. So that's number one. Number two, because I work with Linden Labs and Second Life mentors and the Belisaria mentors, I'm connected with the kinds of things that they're trying to do right now to get people connected. So, for example, if you live in Belisaria, meaning that you have a Linden home, they have all kinds of different activities going on all the time for people who live in those areas. And I think that's something that we need to start promoting in each of the different worlds too, is, whether it's to be a performance and performing and you can come for a dance, or you can listen to this lecture. So I would see this area being a hub for all of those kinds of activities.
Well, to be honest, and Roxy has already hit on that, is we've talked about that they've brought meetings and other things here for the quarterly sometime, which I know is evolving based on what Cooper had said. But just like in Second Life, where VWAC has other programming, whether it's the expert series or the fireside chats or other things going on that regularly bring traffic, whether it's working out to showcase somebody who's on some other hub to come here and do a demonstration or a discussion. There just needs to be more programming here that draws people to come here and know that it's here.
So Veg has a headquarters on both territories. We also now have a conference center there that hopefully we can have some trainings, some meetings, and that kind of thing. So want to get that started. But the other thing, Val, I was thinking, and I've talked about making sure our avatars look presentable, and I can it's like half the time I don't have the shirt on. This is the only outfit I have. This is my avatar. I think a lot of people are skeptical about getting into OpenSims because one, they don't know how to dress their avatar. They don't know where to get clothes. They don't know how the money system works if you wanted to buy something. And there's a lot of places where you can't buy something. So like for me on Wolf Territories right now, I'm kind of at the mercy of the people who have befriended me and are giving me things. As far as like Wolf Territories is great for helping us set up headquarters there because I'm not a builder, I'm not a scripter, and so I'm the ultimate consumer. So I think having sessions, I want to try, bring into open come to this session and we will help you develop your avatar or whatever, the basics. It's that survival. And I think a lot of people are afraid to jump into OpenSims simply because of that, or they don't understand the hop system. I mean, it's a huge learning curve. So anything we can do in order to simplify this and help people take that first step, I think we're going to and help them feel comfortable once they do that. It's not just enough to let them come in and see. We got to help them find a reason to stay.